Hi, my name is John Gauntner. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio in the United States, but now I'm living in Kamakura. I originally came to Japan in 1988, and for the first about 12 years or so, I lived in Yokohama and then in Tokyo after that. But then in 1999, I moved down to Kamakura. The main reason was because my wife grew up here. She had family down here. And we found a house that we wanted to live in, so we moved down to Kamakura. Immediately, I fell in love with the place. We're very close to the ocean, and there's plenty of mountains to take long hikes in as well. And that's another part of it that I find extremely appealing. The way that I got into sake is actually a very interesting story. It happened on January 1st, 1989. I had only been in Japan for a few months then, and I wasn't the least bit interested in sake. No appeal for me whatsoever. I thought, they make this stuff from rice. How could it possibly be any good? However, I visited a colleague's house, an elderly gentleman, who introduced me to 5 really good brands of sake, and I'd never had premium sake before. In fact, it was the first time that I'd ever compared sake, and it was the first time that I ever had sake that wasn't hot sake. And the depth was just amazing to me, the differences between them. And my life changed on that day. I found myself very naturally, very deeply interested in sake. And so I would go out and discover new sake all the time. I would frequent sake pubs. I would try to learn to read Japanese so I could learn more about sake. And very slowly I got more and more interested into it. If I were to put the appeal of sake to me into one word, it would be depth. And that applies to everything. The more you taste sake, the more it changes as you taste it. And that applies to the culture behind it too, the history behind it too. They talk about experience and intuition being the 2 factors that make good sake what it is. And that's the truth. This is such a deep, deep world, no matter how you look at it. One of my favorite things to do in Kamakura is to take walks and to take hikes. And there's a mountain nearby called Kinubariyama, and I like to climb to the top of that, but it'll take me about 15 minutes, maybe a little bit longer if I walk slowly enough. But when I get to the top, there's actually a spot where I can see the ocean and Mount Fuji. That always refreshes me. Kamakura is a big tourist town, but it's only an hour from Tokyo. So you get all these tourists coming down to Kamakura, but they go home in the evening. So that means is, in the evening time, there's all these restaurants and places to go that are really focused on locals rather than tourists. And there's so many of them. And so one of the things I really enjoy doing down here is discovering a new place that I can join in the evenings or in the early mornings when the places that aren't geared toward tourists but are more geared towards locals are thriving. I think that a local sports team can have a very positive, unifying effect on a city. I'm originally from a city called Cleveland in the state of Ohio in the United States, and we have a football team called the Cleveland Browns, and the entire city is nuts in supporting the football team there. Everybody's got Browns t-shirts on, and everybody watches the games on Sunday, and I'm very much a part of that. I can really feel that. And unfortunately, they're not very good. However, we still support them, and we will support them until the end. Also, I think that the football team here at Kamakura can have an equally positive effect on the feeling amongst all the residents of Kamakura. So I've spent just over half of my life in Japan, and most of that has been here in Kamakura. And if I were to give one piece of advice related to living overseas or living in other countries or living in other cultures, it would be this: give things time. Sometimes things don't make sense at the beginning. Sometimes you don't understand why people do things the way they do them. But if you're patient and you give things time, almost always you'll come around to the understanding, and things will be much more enjoyable and much more peaceful. So if I were to recommend one thing, it would be give things time.